I think it's just going to be the team that shows up in the moment, single elimination. Let's go. Penn State taking on Rowan University. Gentlemen, let's rock.
And so it's going to start with Rem, and we talk about, starting on day number one, we knew what Stev was going to bring to the table for this team. We weren't too sure about Rem, as it was really our first time seeing him, but he really fit into this roster very well, and so you want to continue to see that for Penn State. But right now, Rowan putting on some early pressure here in the first 30 seconds.
It is a solid press right now. Stev not able to get there. Brian Busey, we say get involved. Well, way to start off day number 3 with one into the middle of the net.
Yeah, and Rem, he just couldn't get a good touch on that one, and good by Professor Cab to at least try to force a bad touch out there in the corner. A bad touch is exactly what he got out of it, and it resulted in a goal.
Time and time again now, especially in the East region, we've seen a lot of scores in the first 30 seconds of the game. The question then always becomes, can they keep that pressure going towards the back end of the game?
Yes, they can. Right off the kickoff, again putting pressure on this Penn State team, and they need to find a clear into space. This might have just been it from Stev, but it actually had a little too much on it.
Oh, and a good pass out middle from Professor Cab. Tough for Tennis Master to catch it out from Gary. Gary low on boost around the corner. Tennis Master wants to play this slow and out. Pays off at least for a second to buy some time. Penn State still struggling to get out of the blue half. And Rem, they need another touch here in midfield to finally relieve the pressure. Rem does so right there, high off the backboard. Tennis Master across the pitch, back over to Rem.
This is really the first opportunity Penn State's had all game to be on the offensive side. They need this read from Tennis Master. Gary in a bit of an awkward spot. Nice demo in the midfield from Rem. Takes away Brian Busey as an option, and it will allow the Nittany Lions to stay on offense. They just missed the bump, though, and Rowan will break out.
Just off the corner, Brian Busey undercutting the ball. Got a bump on the back man. Finding Brian Busey again is Professor Cab. Just off the corner, Stev trying to fight for possession of the ball. So far, Rowan have done well to keep pressure up, but here's the transition for Tennis Master. Brian Busey able to get it out of the corner for now. Professor Cab challenged by Rem. Tennis Master demoed one. Look for a bump on the back end as well. Penn State trying to threaten here.
Definitely forcing the physical aspect of play is Penn State whenever they get over on that orange side of the field. Weak touch from Brian Busey, plus the hit off the wheels will push them well away from where they'd like to be, as Rem's able to beat one down to Stev. Wants the back left corner, and he's just off the mark. That will be tipped safely back towards the midfield line, and Professor Cab on the rotation out, not able to find the double tap. 1-2 tap towards the back wall of Penn State, and they just get out.
And another transition by Penn State, just blocked away from Professor Cab. Stev looking for Tennis Master. The shot on target, it is blocked by Professor Cab. Rem's there to follow it up. Tennis Master over another. No, it's Rem off the crossbar. Tennis Master thought it was higher. No goal for Penn State.
And Rem did such an amazing job. Just made everybody stop and do a double take there, as he just short chipped it over 2 defenders. But Rowan do indeed escape unscathed. The Professor's figuring out how they want to move this one down, and Stev will kind of hand them the ball a little bit here, but Rem recovering well in the midfield.
And Brian Busey just trying to buy some time, almost getting a second touch there. But Rem doing a great job here in the corner. Penn State waiting to see how this materializes, but Stev trying to force the issue. He's not going to get anything out of it, so Rowan get away with it for now. That's a good challenge by Brian Busey as well to cut the transition short. Professor Cab looks for Brian Busey on the wing. He's got him, and all 3 Penn State players converging onto the ball. Only Stev committing on the play. That shot just wide anyway. Stev can't get there in time. Professor Cab is there, but Rowan's forced back. It's Brian Busey had to wait for the touch.
So 30-second goal really going to be the decider here in game number 1.
It may be.
Ryan did open it up right about 30 seconds into the game, and Penn State's best opportunity to equalize gone awry, as Tennis Master just couldn't find that read off of a great setup from his teammate. This one out in front of the box and easily defended by Professor Cab across the box, and Brian Busey not the greatest clear. There's Rem waiting for it down into the middle, and he will get a second opportunity. This time he'll do it himself. 101 on the board, and it's all tied up.
You were waiting for this defense to crack for Rowan eventually with the plays that Penn State were putting together. Finally they find a gap. Rem able to just put it just high enough away. No Rowan defender can get there, and with a minute left they finally tie the game. And so, Rowan, they put on some consistent pressure here against the Nittany Lions. Penn State have been able to answer back for the most part, and it's been a very, very defensive battle for these two teams in game number 1. And taking it under 1 is Gary, almost slipping by Stev, but Stev is able to clear it out to the corner. Still plenty of hand time on that ball off the backboard. Tennis Master pitches it away.
Wise idea then from Brian Busey. Just kill the transition from Penn State and give yourself a few extra seconds to recollect. However, Rem, quality challenge against the side wall, and they're just a little too late. Stev not able to get that one on target. Tennis Master, another chip to the top of the box, but everybody leaving for the blue and white. And Rowan again finds a welcome long clear into space. Pass to Rem towards the back wall. Stev is not the first one there. Gary to delay in the final 7.
This is a chance here for Professor Cap, but Rem able to get turned around to challenge the ball just off the corner. This is a chance for Rowan. Professor Cap teeing up. It's got to be Brian Busey, but Rem was already in the air. A good knockdown to take it to OT.
All right. So both teams definitely are being forced to play some solid defense. And Tennis Master might end it at OT. That's twice now. He's just overshot the ball a little bit. And Rem, another setup towards the back wall, but Tennis Master just not enough boost in the tank. Stev definitely having to wait his turn. And actually a very well-timed early half flip back towards his own half. It allowed him to keep that ball well in front of him and really figure out how he wanted to deal with it. And let his team get set on defense. Nice fake from Rem.
And Tennis Master now carrying it out, but Professor Cab right there in midfield to take it away. The demo trying to open things up on the line, but it's not there. Brian Busey's shot is good. A great shot from the side wall for Rowan to take game 1.
A great shot indeed. Just Rem. It's a good clear actually, but just what an adjustment from Brian Busey. A nice read off the bounce, and Tennis Master honestly not in too bad of a spot, but Brian really just kicked that at him as hard as he could from that position, and 61 from just outside the top of the box. We talked about it a little bit yesterday. Anything at that 60-mile-per-hour mark towards the top of the box is always going to be tough, and the back post placement was just enough.
You know, going into this matchup, one of the biggest questions that we had is what kind of defense are we going to see out of both of these teams? And I think we got a rather large sample size of Penn State just because of the smothering offense from Rowan, especially going towards the middle portions of the game. Rowan did crack, but who do you guys think showed the stronger defense so far?
Tough to say. I mean, Rowan definitely kept a lot more quality chances at bay, I think. I mean, I can't really think that Penn State off the top of my head was really like pass across, because Penn State, they had those 2 opportunities, one by Rem towards the back wall, but nobody was there to follow it up.
And then
the other one
was passing play.
The other one was the chip as well from Ren, which definitely should have been scored. So it's like the defense from Rowan, it did allow a couple of things through, but Penn State really did beat themselves on offense.
I gotta agree. We saw them have lower accuracy at the beginning of the series earlier in the week. Let's see if they can pick that up. Game number 2, Rowan up 1.
And even still, I mean, even for Rowan's offense, it wasn't anything high-flying, to say the least. They really didn't have a lot of quality chances themselves.
Exactly. They both generated about the same amount of shots, but it really just came down to did you put the ball in or not?
Yeah, I mean, it came down to a laser from Brian Busey that was really hard to defend for Tennis Master. And honestly, for me, those are always my favorite types of games because it really forces you to play at your peak and really make defenders stretch, and it's less about the other team making a mistake more so than it is you just hitting a banger of a shot.
Yeah, exactly. Game number 1 really wasn't the defensive error left, right, and center. It was definitely you got to open something up, and we saw plenty of physical play from both teams. Rowan started evening that side of the field, or that aspect of the game as well, towards the end of the game as well. So it was good to see everybody getting involved, and it really was, you got to see the best of both worlds for each team's offense. But Rowan, especially Brian Busey, who I, said please do things today, and he put in 2 bangers.
Absolutely, and a double commit on offense here. Brian Busey keeping the ball in the air as well as his teammate Rowan trying to hang on defensively. Stev catching it by 1, looking to try to get by Brian Busey, but as you see, Tennis Master has to call off and get Rem in the mix as he had the boost available. A demo to open up the net. Tennis Master, those backboard reads are killing him today. That's his 3rd missed one.
And that one definitely straight off that top corner, just might have misread when it was going to hit the ceiling or something, but again, the 3rd time over the top. And Brian Busey has a little bit of space to work with here. Actually, I think Tennis Master stole away that corner boost. Rowan are not in the greatest spot right now. He's also playing havoc in the net for Professor Clabb and Brian Busey. Nice touch to the middle, and Tennis Master will cut that down as well. 1v1 back the other way, and he's not even going to let him have a chance. Rem lifts it towards the net, but an easy stop for Gary.
Yeah, it bought just an extra second for Gary to get set, allows the save to happen. And Rowan defensively, creative defense is the way I think I want to say it. Just off the back wall. I mean,
Blow up the offense.
A demo to take out things. That shot just wide. Stev wanting to play it slow, brings it down, cannot get over Professor Cab. Coming flying, it is Gary. That shot's in, and Rowan take the lead.
And this is just a little too much space. Rem thinks he has time to get corner boost. Worst part is it's not even there, and Tennis Master rotating back out of the midfield. Again, towards the top of the box. This one upwards of 70 miles an hour, and it's just so tough to stop him from that close.
Going into the series, Gary said, let's get it.
Let's get
if
it.
You leave it out there, he's definitely going to go for it. First goal of the game, not too shabby.
So Gary taking point again. A good challenge by Rem, but again, rotation is in for Rowan. And Stev trying to open things up with a demo. They did grab possession for a second, but Rowan are just pressing the assault. Every time Penn State tried to slow the pace down, Rowan get in their faces and really try to force them to make a miss.
And you got to give credit as well to Rowan's offense, because they've been able to really box in Penn State in this game number 2. A couple of chances, but in general, Rowan not really ever struggling to break out of their own half. Even when they were getting boost starved, they didn't really allow any super dangerous shots, as that's one towards the top of the box. Professor Cab still has a setup opportunity. Gary might be a little slow, and it will just get ticked away. And Tennis Master trying to keep the drive going, but everybody going to split off here, and we'll battle for possession at the midfield line.
And still, Professor Cab has a lot of lift on that, but can't get back to the ball in time. And the quick transition here for Tennis Master from Rem is met on the corner again. Just been a lot of neutralization, if you will, for both teams. Not a lot of quality opportunities. There was one potentially, but a great save from Professor Cab. Tennis Master tries to as well. He can't get it on target. That shot's in though for Stev. Penn State finally tie the game.
And it just comes off the back of a quick transition. You don't see it on the replay, but Professor Cab, he had to get a much better touch on that wall. Yes, he kept the first one out, but the problem was Rowan still wasn't back and set on defense to stop the follow-up shot from Stev, and he did exactly what Rowan's been doing to them. Blast one at him in a tough spot from close distance.
This is the offense we were hoping to see out of Penn State. They definitely picked things up. Rowan, hero's effort trying to keep the ball out of the goal as long as they did. But that is a constant onslaught coming right now from Penn State.
Yeah, as long as they don't rely on Tennis Master to hit the backboard shots, then Penn State's offense has been pretty good. But it's also been very sparse as well. But that's been true for both teams so far in this series. So, but when their chances are there, their quality. And Tennis Master rolling around one, he got it across the box, but a well-read play by Gary to get that follow-up touch to move back to Nittany Lions territory.
Nice. That was a great bump by one of Rowan's players there on Rem, just because it delayed Penn State that transition, which had just worked so well for them in scoring their previous goal. And that one little bump just bought that extra few seconds for Rowan to close the distance, get right in their face, and not let anything go for free, as Stev has to tip one out to the side.
And Stev just trying to get this one away, but again, he gives up possession in that corner. It's tough on that side. Professor Cab keeping it in play here for Rowan. There's 10 seconds left in regulation. Not a ton of pressure from either team. Double commit on offense, but it gets the job done in terms of keeping it away from Penn State. Rem can't get back to the ball. That shot's on target. Saved by Tennis Master. Brian Busey lets it fall. We got OT.
Tennis Master, while he's been struggling to stop the lasers, he is just in time to keep the lifter away from the left-hand side. Gary with a nice kickoff gives Brian Busey a one-on-one, and Rem immediately on that ball, taking it away.
And a good touch by Rem again, over to Tennis Master, but well read by Gary. Professor Cab thought Brian Busey was coming in maybe, but there's still no one coming to challenge Gary on the play. Gary by Stev now, here in the corner for Rowan. Gary on the challenge to Rem. Up is Brian Busey, looking maybe he can't even get there, and Rem takes it away for Penn State.
But Stev so fast out of the midfield. Professor Cab didn't really have too much, and again, Penn State caught trying to play defense while rotating back, and that is a welcome demo, just to even have some space to work with, because Penn State, when they get the ball, they will push for it, and it has allowed a couple of not incredibly dangerous, but definitely make you suck the breath in, as Professor Cab blasts one from his own box, pretty much. Yeah, that's the midfield line. I take that all back.
That's a great back pass from Stev, unfortunately, for Professor Cab, and Rem went off and it looked like he wanted to go grab that corner boost. Next thing he knows, Professor Kev has a boomer towards his net, and he catches himself on the ramp, has to try to just launch forward in the middle of the net and hope he hits it, and it just didn't work out for him. And so Rowan, they take game number 2, and we're in sweep territory.
Penn State, you know, this is the second time we've seen these teams go into overtime. I'm not at all surprised because it's been very evenly contested. One of the things I really enjoyed about Penn State earlier in the week is how they were able to hit shots from range. I said they had long-range artillery, and now Rowan's showing that that they are capable of doing the same thing. The defense, I definitely think that it improved somewhat, not enough. But for me, the thing that I was most impressed with for Rowan is just how they were able to improve their clears going in the second half.
I'm going to nitpick something really quick, and I'm going to nitpick on Stev for a second, just because there were a couple of times where Stev gave up possession where he didn't need to. He had time, he knew where the opposition was, and he ended up just hitting the ball right back to them. One of them led to a Rowan goal, and this one here where he hit it right into Professor Cap also led to the game-winning goal that's taken this to series point. So I want to see Stev be able to clean that up and try to keep possession in Penn State's hands. Obviously, it's not the easiest thing to do in Rocket League, but still, a player of Stev's caliber can absolutely make the adjustment.
Well, he's got a chance to do exactly that here in his own corner. Brian Busey makes Rem wait a few moments to respawn as he will just air dribble it past the midfield line. Helping hand from Tennis Master, I believe, and power out of nowhere. Put it in the left corner.
Yeah, Stev, I mean, look, that was just a great carry. That's exactly what you wanted to see from him, and he scores the first goal here for the Nittany Lions. Penn State, there you go.
Stev, congratulations. You joined the elite rank of players able to make a Chiefs clap on a goal. We wanted to see some improvement. We wanted to see some play out of Stev. He's like, I hear you.
It is a rare feat.
I usually spend all my time clapping for Drewby.
That's true. I still don't know why, but regardless, Stev against the back wall looking for Rem, and Rem has it. Penn State off the back of Stev. I called him out, and he's answered.
You do say go get possession for your team. Well, how about winning a challenge, keeping it close, beating Brian Busey, and now it's Rowan who are having to rotate back because Stev's making a bunch of people miss, and Rem as well. Soft touch towards the left-hand side of the net. 2-0, Penn State. It's back to life real quick.
Sometimes no matter how much you practice, the situation becomes real when you are one game from elimination. Penn State is looking like a re-energized team. We might have ourselves another Game 5 in the East region.
I mean, we've seen it happen more than once where a team goes up 2-0 in the East, and then we're in Game 5. But that shot is good, but Professor Cab is there to save. Oh, Gary makes one miss. Gary now carrying the whole way down the pitch. Has the boost, but too far up against the back wall. Professor Cap can't clean it up. The second touch down has to be Brian Busey, but he has to wait. Now waiting too long. He had the boost available to try to challenge. Gary had a boost on the return, and Penn State take control.
They take control, which is the worst part of that because it was almost a gimme goal there to put that one in and cut the lead in half with 3.5 minutes and get yourself right back into game number 3. But now it's just going to be clock wasted as that is also a gimme. Followed through by Stev. Tennis Master really trying to force the issue here. And Stev is thankfully able to hang on to the ball and buy a few extra moments for Penn State to get all the way back and get re-geared here in the midfield line.
There you go. That's a good touch by Professor Cap to boom it back downfield. But Stev's touches have just been brilliant so far in game number 3, just taking away Rowan's chances before they even materialize. And Gary can't get that one away. Demo on the back end. Stev has another goal. 3-0 for Penn State.
So I want to see where Brian Busey went. Because Gary, it's not the worst clear. It could have been better, but camera angle not going to do it justice. Brian Busey, I think, yeah, definitely coming out of the midfield line. And just a product of that clear not being perfectly out to the side, a little too towards the midfield line, and just Stev stole it.
So Penn State, almost a 4th goal right off the kickoff. Tennis Master says, yeah, we're getting that 4th goal. It is a stop.
Game 3 kind of came out of nowhere for Penn State for sure. Good save by Gary, but Tennis Master, he just went to go get boost in the midfield after he kicked off, right?
Yeah.
And then it came right to him.
He's like, thanks for the ball.
It's amazing to see a team start to believe in themselves, and then they just become this whole other entity. Rowan, this is the Penn State you were probably worried about seeing in this best of 5.
Very much so.
Absolutely.
However, that is a big double commit in the midfield, and they need to be able to hang on to this ball and get it going back the other way in short order. They're through 1. Stev can't get it through another, and that will be Tennis Master to clear. Professor Cab caught too far forward, and now it's Rem in the 2-on-1. High off the back wall. Terrible position to be in the net, but thankfully a little too much sideways carry. And Rowan with an opportunity to recover.
And a good pass in midfield to get things going, but I mean, Rem has been super fast in the last minute or so. He's really shut down Rowan, anything they've tried to do, and this is still important for Penn State to maintain this lead and to keep Rowan out of the net.
Dear.
And they're struggling right now, but oh no, ill-advised from Rem. Tennis Master able to clear it away for now. He gets another win against Brian Busey. Gary's in tow with Brian Busey down below. That shot is just out to the side. Gary turning around. He's still got possession. Forces 2 up for Penn State. Chaos right now on the blue line. Nobody from Penn State can get a solid clear out.
Just
Stev
score on him.
completely misses, and Rowan still can't get a goal.
They finally ran out of boost too, and that's twice in this game now that Rowan have really had Penn State up against the wall and just couldn't put the ball into the back of the net. So that was that free touch earlier, I think that Professor Cab set up. And then right then, Penn State, you said it, chaos on the line, running into each other, low boost, jumping at everything, and they just couldn't find the one touch to put it through.
And if you're Penn State, you are really glad that Rowan didn't punish you there, because the last thing you want to do is get scored on right here, and then have game 4, Rowan start feeling themselves again instead of carrying this momentum into game number 4.
Yeah, that time Rem just a little bit too slow, and Professor Cab did just beat him out to that ball, and it's Penn State just trying to do a little too much with not a lot.
Barring a miracle run, this game is definitely going to be decided. But in instances where you do get kind of stomped out, you want to be able to say, like, hey, we can still score goals. We can come back strong for the next game.
Right, and that's my point. You know, for Penn State, keeping this lead at 4-0 and keeping your foot on the gas, I think, is important for the rest of the series, just to really keep Rowan on the back end. Because as far as your mental state goes, you know, hesitation is a real thing, and it could be the difference between winning a challenge and scoring a goal or getting scored on.
But imagine what it should be right now. The scoreline should have been 3-4 Penn State with 54 seconds on the clock. Imagine the different state of urgency that would be under Rowan right now if they had, all right, we've got 54 seconds to put the ball in the net and close this out. And it's just that inability to capitalize on Penn State's mistakes. This game definitely hurt them. It does keep Penn State in the box. And, okay, I was about to say, super BM if the post doesn't let that ball go through.
It looked like it was going to bounce out. I am surprised it went in for Professor Cab, but again, this is just good for Rowan. You get a second goal now. The end game scoreline doesn't feel as bad, and if you want to look at it in a microcosm, Rowan have scored 2 unanswered.
It takes a lot of the bite out of the momentum.
Yeah, that's cherry-picking data.
I'm cherry-picking data because, like, this game itself isn't all that matters. Like,
that is true.
It's the series that matters, and
that
so
is true.
These last 2 goals for Rowan absolutely mean something. Not in the cosmos of Game 3, but more so in the universe of this series. It absolutely means everything for Rowan, because if you can't close it out in Game 3, but you do score those goals at the end of the game, you head into Game 4 being like, all right, you know what? We messed it up early. We got this.
The level of morale is entirely different if you're able to lose 4-2 and you score 2 goals in the last minute than if it was a complete shutout and you're not able to get a ball into the net. It was a really interesting role reversal because we saw a lot of low accuracy on Rowan this time, where they had pressure. They had the ball bouncing around just outside the net, but they're not able to close. Why do you guys think that is?
I mean, yo, dude, it happens. I mean, Tennis Master's a guy that we know can put the ball into the back of the net, no problem. It's like the easiest chip in the world from Rem, beat all the defenders. You miss it. The touch that came off the top corner, and he just missed that read. It's like we've all done that all the time. And we talked about it a little bit at dinner last night. You know, we're not the pros, man. We're not perfect. Sometimes you miss the ones you should hit. It's always the easy ones that are the hardest to score.
Rowan finds themselves in something of a difficult position because in the interview, Gary was like, you know, we get better over the course of a series. We'd rather play in a best-of-7 than a best-of-5. I think we'd be able to have a stronger performance. But when you go into Game 4 in a manner that you did, it's just like, okay, I don't know if we're going to have the momentum that we might have hoped for. But going into game number 4, Penn State. Rowan, can they turn this around and close the series?
Well, I mean, you were talking about it a little bit. It was good for them to get those 2 goals, Jorby, and it's because, I mean, that game was 4-0 at 2 minutes, 41 seconds. The entire latter half of that game was all Rowan, and despite them missing a couple of good chances to get back into the game earlier on, they did still put, like you said, 2 unanswered together. get some offense going and say, yeah, we figured out how to deal with this. We stopped the bleeding, and they do go into game number 4, not in the worst place.
And Stev just trying to keep this one away. So Penn State, they definitely want to try to force another early onslaught like they did in game number 3. Rowan, if they can get out of the first minute unscathed, I think it really plays to their benefit. And that shot wide doesn't matter. The rebound doesn't come through. Gary has to pick this up.
Ooh.
He gets by Stev on the challenge, and he's got another touch onto the ball out to the corner. Not exactly the best touch here for Rowan, but it does stay in play. Flying in is Professor Cab, and now Rem is forced to try to make a touch out, but there were 4 cars in front of him right now, and it's tough to clear it out of the blue half. Tennis Master finally does.
And that is probably the 3rd time now that Penn State, Gary had them all beat, and he just needed one good touch towards the middle of the pitch or towards the net, and he had them all beat. Penn State, that has been the one big criticism I have of them, is they definitely do get caught trying to stretch things a little too thin, and they have to play some very tough defense from some tough positions to play defense in, because they're on the rotate back, just like this from Rem. He's coming back from the midfield line. Yes, the shot's not difficult, but imagine if he was already back and ready. They could just launch that away and do their own counterattack. It's just, sometimes it's a little too risky for Penn State.
And then sometimes they all get caught on their back line when they can't clear it, just like that sequence right there, and it hops over 2 defenders' head, and you force your only player who's on the goal line to have to make a save and hope that he doesn't get dunked on, because that's exactly how you get dunked. And still the back pass is available for Stev as he takes it downfield. That's a tough save for Brian Busey. Back Professor Cab or Gary. Someone needs to follow up on this. And now Tennis Master has free reign as he just takes a pot shot towards the net, even with Stev on the wing.
Free ball, Nittany Lions. Do they punish? Yes, they do. And it goes out to Stev in the corner. He's got free reign. Nobody challenging. Everybody stuck. And that will be great punishment from Penn State.
The moment you saw a double commit or 2 there from Rowan, it just felt like it was a matter of time before we'd end up looking at a Penn State replay off of a goal. Penn State, they find the punishment method for that.
Stev, just off this kickoff, you got to go back for Professor Cab, almost scoring here, and another shot from Gary. It's light, and Rem, plenty of time for him to get back to save it. Professor Cab, now the only man back, plays it out to the corner. Rem catches it out. He's by another defender, looking for the pass, and he had Tennis Master, but just a little too fast on the approach.
Just a little too fast, and it would have been a scorcher, and really would have put the screws to Rowan in this game number 4 as well, because, again, Rowan have been struggling to really start putting the balls into the back of the net in game number 3. In game number 4, the offense has definitely dried out a little bit. Sure, they've put some pressure on Penn State, but they have, to their credit, been able to pick it up. Just because I'm not the biggest fan of how they've approached defense doesn't mean it hasn't worked in game 4.
And for Rowan, you can't help but think back to the potential shot Gary had earlier in the game that would have gave them the early lead. And then the other opportunity that Professor Cab had later on, they're going to have another chance here. Knocked straight down. Professor Cab forced to stay back. Brian Busey up. Stev trying to clear this out. Professor Cab is there looking on the wing. He's got Gary. Gary shoots, and it's just off the crossbar with 1:30 left. Rowan can't score.
Wash, rinse, repeat. We've said it time and time again in just the past 10 minutes, and tack one more on the board. This is a huge miss from Rem. He's got no boost. Gary's waiting for it. He's going to need help, and the demo from Stev will just murder that attempt from Rowan. But one more opportunity for Gary and Brian Busey. Just nothing going here for the professors.
And murder's the only way to describe it, because that was going to be a goal for Rowan. And Penn State this time stand up defensively and don't rely on the whiff off, or not the whiff, excuse me, the miss off the crossbar from Rowan. It's still a minute left here. Rowan half time. The pressure is there. Gary, the touches are there. It's just that shot on net they're missing. Where is it? They can't find it there. Rem, a huge miss, allows Brian Busey to come in. Tennis Master clears it away. A big clear here for Penn State.
And the unfortunate thing for Rowan there was they were off grabbing boost in the midfield, and they couldn't really tighten the noose a little bit. As this one winds down to the final 30, pass to Professor Cab. He's going to need to find a cross, and that will be it actually from Penn State, but Gary's just a touch too far forward, and a few precious moments lost here as they have to go back to their own half and get it.
And Gary had to be up that far. It just was an unfortunate bounce. It just came out hard and fast and high, but Brian Busey almost caught Stev out, able to pick up the save. Gary's there in midfield, off the sidewall. No, he doesn't have the second touch. He fakes out the defender. The shot from Professor Cab. The feint from Gary. Gary scores for Rowan with 2 seconds left.
Definitely playing with Tennis Master's mind. They both went for the block. Neither of them hit it, and it pays off for the offense. Professor Cab wide open. You can't miss those. And 2 on the clock. We're looking at OT.
We knew the pros were capable of some explosive dynamic
Oh,
offense.
Tennis Master.
No better time in the last 2 seconds.
Oh, no.
We got OT.
Again.
Oh, Tennis Master. I love you to death.
It was so
but
close.
Imagine if you'd put it in.
It would have been beautiful. Rowan trying to end the series now. Penn State looking to scarily get the ball out of harm's way, and they do. Rowan, Brian Busey, he's been big for his team today. Can he stand tall yet again and close the series out? Tip out to Stev. Gary's there. Touchdown from Ram. Brian Busey looking, but Penn State keep the door closed.
Imagine the shot in the arm that scoring that goal was for Rowan as well. They're going to try and put the pressure on Penn State. It is so deflating to have a lead and give one up anywhere in the final 10 seconds. 2 away from forcing game number 5, and you give up an equalizer and miss the 0-second game winner. Rowan's got to be geared up.
Oh,
One-on-one, they clipped him.
What a bump. And Rem can't clear it out fast enough. Brian Busey, he demos one defender. Professor Cab is in. The challenge up high against the corner. And its hang time is high and long. Stev trying to keep it close. Gary flies in for the play. Rem has to make the touch. He does. Tennis Master's too far back. But, Professor Cab wasn't able to get there in time still. Brian Busey keeps this close and high, gets under Stev, and now Rowan are off to the races. Here's Gary. Gary's got Professor Cab on the wing, and straight down, there he is, but challenged by Tennis Master. Gary's right there in front of the box, and Stev almost got blocked. Here's Brian Busey. That one just high above the crossbar, and Tennis Master's there for the save. Stev needs this clear. He can't get it. Rem needs to clear this out. Brian Busey cannot keep the ball in play for Rowan.
And game number 3 ended so similarly to this as well. It was Rowan pressure, 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 and Penn State. I said they weren't tested on defense. Well, they've got all that they could ask for here versus Rowan, and they're hanging on just enough. Finally a chance back the other way. Rim not able to beat out Professor Cab. Stev is just a little too slow,
What a touch. It's
and it will be off the mark.
Tennis Master catches this out and almost dunked. Professor Cab stopped by Tennis Master. Unbelievable off the post from Tennis Master, keeping Penn State alive in the tournament.
That catch from Tennis Master, you could almost feel his heart jump to his throat when he realized he had to dribble in front of his net. And he was just able to clip it off the wall and to get a second chance here as this is out in front of Professor Cab. Can't find the corner of the net. Brian Busey in a great position to keep the pressure going, however, and that is not the greatest clear from Rem. Thankfully, Professor Cab had to go all the way back to his own side to grab boost. He did win the challenge, however, but the follow-through is a little bit weak, and Rowan may be trying to force something that isn't here.
The Nittany Lions have clogged every gap. Rowan trying to force their way through. It's not the best touch from Gary. Step is up, and it's in! Penn State forced game 5, 2 minutes and 50 seconds into overtime.
You just knew that Gary needed to get a way different touch than that one. You could tell he was going for the pinch, so it would go right back around the wall and into the midfield line. Unfortunately, got a little bit too far in front of it, just kicked it off his back wall, and Stev, lurking, says, don't mess up, punishes.
Game number 4 again proves to be a powder keg. Another overtime, another daring finish. But I gotta say, the story of this series for me so far has just been missed opportunities on both sides of the ball. So many shots should have gone in, could have gone in, if the accuracy was a little different. And in a situation where it's single elimination, you drop one of these games, you don't get the shot that you're looking for, you have another chance in the fall. Months later on, the pressure's definitely on for this team. To let this reverse sweep potentially happen is not exactly what Rowan was looking for. What do you think they need to improve on going into Game 5?
To be completely honest, Penn State won that game at 2:45. They kept up great pressure, but Penn State's defense has been so stingy. They've put Penn State in so many tough positions, rotating back on defense, trying to put them in a weird spot, and Penn State's always been able to deal with it. I thought at the start it was going to come down to which team played great defense, and Penn State have proved that even if we're not in the best spot, we can always get the touch that's required, and the only way to fix that is to blow somebody up as Stev just misses a double tap.
And I mean, Game 1 was that, right? Game 1 was a tale of 2 great defenses, but but since then, it has not been the story of the series, Haloran, and you mentioned it just missed opportunities, and so...
Oh, what a bump!
And that bump is going to open the door for Tennis Master, and Steph, I understand why he went up. He's like, Tennis Master, you haven't hit a single backboard shot today, so I'm going for that one. He gets it this time.
Here's the best part. It's funny, because it looks like he hits Tennis Master down.
Yeah.
It looks like it. Not sure if he did, but it does look like it, which is even more funny. But at the end of the day, Penn State do start it off with a bang.
Every second that passes in game number 5 is going to be a tense moment. You miss one touch, you miss one shot, you are out of the entire tournament. Rowan, Penn State, they're feeling the pressure right now.
Good idea by Rem to try to catch and make Brian Busey miss, but good challenge by him. Oh, he was looking for Professor Cab, who's shadowing him a little too closely. And Gary picks this up, a chance for Rowan. Gary, a good touch, but Brian Busey too far off. He's able to play this read and can't get there in time. And I gotta say, this shot blocked by Stev. Tennis Master, no boost, still a play for Rowan, but that one's gonna go by the wayside. But I was gonna say, I gotta say Gary has been just absolutely incredible as the first man on this team. He has had some incredible touches that have given his team so many opportunities, so many chances to score. It's just been, again, they haven't been able to capitalize on that. And so you want to see Brian Busey and Professor Cab both be able to take advantage. And Gary able to stand up after the attempted bump. Oh, and it blocked again by Brian Busey. So Rowan playing some good goaltending there as they move back down to the blue half.
And the stop from Brian Busey really ties into what I wanted to follow up that with. Yeah, Gary's been a great first man trying to set things up, but how about Professor Cab and Brian behind them as well? Great support. They've kept pressure on Penn State for what feels like 15 minutes now.
Yeah.
You can't even really remember Penn State having an extended stay on offense. It's been Rowan, 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 and it goes against my well-established axiom of offense wins you games. So you got to give credit to Penn State. The defense is what's getting it done.
And that shot, as light as it was, easily blocked by Gary. And Rem trying to play this slow. He actually baits Professor Cab up on the play. Professor Cab answers with a demolition and allows Gary to move this one forward. Tennis Master, he slips by him, and now he's got no boost. He has to keep this one close. Brian Busey bumps him into it. Tennis Master makes the best out of a really bad situation and able to get it out.
Free ball for Rem. Opportunity for Penn State to actually really gain a lot of control of the map here, but they missed that midfield boost. Hard bounce on the back wall, and Professor Cab, well aware of the positioning of Tennis Master, wasn't even worried one bit of getting beat to that ball. Bad rotation from Penn State and not the cleanest touch. Thankfully, nobody on Rowan expecting it. And Stev takes one away out to Gary and into the middle. Tennis Master can't reach it. Again, he's looking the right way. He's in the right spot, and you feel he should have got this.
So it's so funny. So Professor Cab, back when he was on the ground, he was actually out of boost. So after the double commit from Penn State, he couldn't push forward because he had no boost to get up to the ball. Instead, he rolls up the side wall. It was plenty of time for him to make that challenge, which allowed Gary to come in and score the goal for Rowan. So even with no boost, Professor Cab still makes it work for Rowan.
Excellent teamwork and coordination under pressure for Rowan. They absolutely needed that goal to give them a chance to not see a 5th overtime in a row, which is what we're on track for right now.
Oh, and a huge double commit by Penn State. This is a chance for Gary. He can't find the first touch. He gets the second one out to Professor Cab, and it's good for Rowan, who are standing up in Game 5 with their second goal.
They keep on coming. Gary just sticks one to the wall, and Tennis Master did not expect that touch one bit.
He was expecting probably the first touch that he landed on the wall with.
Exactly.
I don't care who you are. You can be as much of a brick wall as you want, but sooner or later, the onslaught of pressure that Rowan's been bringing to the table
break you down.
Is going to start to find goals. Rowan, they've got to keep it up for another minute and a half.
It's exactly why I say offense wins you games. You can play great defense, and Penn State has been playing some pretty solid defense. But defense demands that you play perfectly, and it's so difficult to play perfectly for so long. And since Rowan has held the offensive torch for most of the series, they currently hold the keys to victory and a spot in the semifinals. If they can hang on for a minute more, as Penn State transitioning back to the other side, trying to get something going. And a touch back to Rem in a bit of an awkward spot. This is going to be a test on how they hang on to the ball, and even still, Rowan denying the corner boost is going to make it so tough to hold on to this ball.
And that's exactly what I was going to say is that Penn State, they have to play this ball close every time they touch it because they never have any boost. They're forced to play this slow transition, and when the transition is good,
Oh, here we go.
it's because downfield, Stev has to wait because he has no boost. Rem's able to try to force his way through, but again, you see Stev and Tennis Master, they're picking up dimes on the field because canisters are never available for them, and with 30 seconds left, they still can't find any sort of room to work with. It's boomed away again. Rem tries to work this through. Gary's making it tough on him, and it's challenged again here by Professor Cab. Brian Busey already up for the ball.
It's a great
15
touch.
seconds. Rowan wasting tons of time. A great dunk. Gary has it on target. That will be the dagger with 14 seconds left.
And it did come down to boost. Tennis Master just missed that challenge just now on that replay, and he went to the corner to grab some boost because we were just talking about how they never have to boost. And finally, they beat two people with two great challenges. Rowan will indeed put the dagger in.
Rowan are no strangers to getting a goal in the last seconds of a game. Why not do it to get the insurance to move further into the bracket? Penn State, they're looking like they're on their way out.
Rowan University stood up. The team out of the East Conference who went to the national championship is eliminated from Collegiate Rocket League Spring. Rowan, move on.
So we're 0 for 3 for fall season national champions. The only one left is Akron, and we'll see if they survive next week. But Rowan University said it was going to come down to defense. Penn State, you tried, but unfortunately you couldn't get the offense going back the other way. So Rowan kept playing the game that they played versus Stockton. A lot of great pressure, a lot of boost control in the midfield. And Penn State, while they held on for a really long time and occasionally were able to pull out a couple games, just overall, the pressure definitely on the Professor side.
There's one conference team left in the East.
Yep.
That's Rensselaer. They're the
last
fall,
Eastern hope.
the last Eastern hope from the fall conference. And these qualifying teams, and it started with the West, came in, it was the Redlands Bulldogs.
Yep.
And then we went to the South, and it was, excuse me, not Kennesaw State, the other team. Who were they? Quickly, UCF.
Yeah,
UCF
Central
Knights.
Florida.
Yes.
Because we were thinking South Florida.
Right, that's where my brain went.
Yes.
And now we're here with 3 really solid qualifying teams that came into spring and really tested the Eastern Conference. And here we sit.
CRL 2019 is shaping up to be the year of the new blood so far as Rowan is able to move forward into the bracket. Let's take a look at that. Their journey is not yet done. Unfortunately, Penn State's is. Rowan advances further. They await the victors of Drexel and Rutgers. 2 interesting and solid teams in their own right. Rowan, I hope they've done their study.
And they played Rutgers already during the qualifiers, actually. They ended up losing 1-2. They didn't run into Drexel in the lower bracket, but if they do get Rutgers, they will have kind of an idea of what they're up against.
Yeah, and again, this Drexel team is not one to sniff away at. They can absolutely bring it on the pitch. I'm excited to how the rest of this Eastern Conference is going to play out, just because I'm looking at all these teams, guys, and I'm thinking like anyone can really win these, no matter who comes out of Drexel, Rutgers. Rowan versus Rutgers or Rowan versus Drexel, you feel like is going to be a competitive matchup. I mean, from what we've seen from CGM, they
can do anything.
Unpredictable. So, you know, I'm excited for the rest of this because I really don't have a favorite now anymore. And it was tough for me to pick a favorite at the start of this week. So that's why I love the Eastern Conference, just because of its unpredictability.
You never know what you're going to get.
Unpredictable defines this entire region. It was pretty much a coin flip going into this match. Let's see what you guys had to say and who was going to come out on top, Penn State or Rowan. 56% going over to Penn State. I get it. They have the history. Why not? But Rowan University, again, proved themselves to be late bloomers in the series, able to show up when they need to, and they're still here in the tournament. I want to hear what you guys have to say. Use hashtag CRL19. Send us questions. Send us comments. As hard as it's going to predict the winner, let me know what you think. Let me know who you think is going to be able to make it to Minnesota. We'll take a short break. Don't go anywhere. A lot more action ahead.